What's going on, guys? Today's video, active length nails, preparation, application, finishing by Greg Salo himself. Check it out.
Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. All right, so got a couple DMs last night about short nails. Had a student who was basically just frustrated with application. So I guess doesn't really struggle with longer application, but when it comes to shorter application, it's definitely a struggle. So I recommended basically, you just have to use less product. So I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna use acrylic today, and I'm gonna show you exactly how you're going to be able to achieve the right amount when you're working with shorter nails. I call them active length nails. So this is going to help you tremendously. For those of you guys that are joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Gregory Salo. I'm one of the co-owners of Young Nails. I want to, the purpose of this is to educate as well as entertain. Okay, so I'm going to give you a first-person perspective on how nails are going to be done. I cover all aspects, preparation, application, as well as finishing. And that way you have a really, really good understanding on what I'm going to be able to do. Okay? All right, so let's get right to this. All right, so what I'm going to do is I already poured nail liquid inside my dish. I usually take a separate towel, right? And I'll go ahead and fix this. What about nail biters? So it's the same thing. When it comes to nail biters, there's only one thing you can do, and you have to sculpt. All right, so you can see how I fold this over. I'm going to use this as my wiping pad. All right, so it's the same exact thing. I mean, if you're working on someone who has long natural nails, it's one thing. If you have somebody who has shorter nails, it's one thing. If you have somebody who has severely bitten nails, and I'll go ahead and kind of create that scenario for you, but this is usually what a bitten nail will look like, okay? This is basically the biggest challenge I think that everybody has, but you have to be able to put your form. The only way to make shorter nails look basically more slender is you have to pinch in a C-curve. That's how you're going to get it to look slender. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to be focusing on shorter nail application, okay? So in order for you to master shorter nail application, first thing we're going to do in prep is push back the cuticles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my electric file. I'm going to take off the carbide bit. I'm going to go ahead and put on my mandrel with arbor band. What I want to be able to do at this point is remove it. So for those of you guys that have been joining me on a daily basis, one of the things you can do is you could hold your brush here, and you can see if I hold my brush here and I slide this up, the band will come off. And if you don't have the strength to do that, you can clip it at the edge and peel it off. And what I mean by that is once you actually have the band on, get stuck on my glove here, right? So you can see the threads right here. For those of you guys that struggle with that method, you could always take a toenail clipper, and what you can do is you could just peel this piece back right here. See that? And then what you're going to do is it just unravels. Once it unravels, it comes right off. So there's two ways of doing it. This is really going to help you guys tremendously. Again, putting this on, if it doesn't go all the way down, you can take your handpiece, turn it over, and just push the balance in, and that's how you're going to get it on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fire up my electric file. I have it at 8,000 RPMs. I'm going to get it down to 3,000. I'm a righty, so I'm going to be working at forward. I'm gonna go ahead and fire this on. Oops, not 16, sorry. All right, 3, boom, you see that? All right, so when I'm removing shine from the surface of the nail, it's really, really important to be very, very gentle. So how do I do that? I use basically my electric file and I work in one direction. So if I'm working around the cuticle area, I'm going to tickle, 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 right? Coochie, coochie, coo, all the way around. So you can see how the shine is removed around the cuticle area. Once I'm done removing shine around the cuticle area, I work in this direction, from this corner to this corner, and I use a feathering motion. So you can see how I'm tickling. I'm using the zone. You can see the markings on my bit, right? So I'm using a feathering motion. As I start working down the barrel, I'm going to start gravitating towards the bottom of my barrel. Right? So I'm not going side to side. I'm feathering away the shine just like this. That's how you're going to do it effectively, okay? So you're going to notice, it doesn't matter whether you're in this position. I'm going to kind of zoom out so that you guys can see how my hand position is. My pinky is here. You see how my handpiece is resting? I don't hold it like this, right? I rest it, right, inside the crease of my hand. And this will allow me to work around in one direction. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, then what you're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and simulate this for all you lefties out there. But what you're going to do, it's the same exact thing. You have to work in forward. I have my position just like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to work around this position, and then you have to make sure that you feather this way, right? From this corner all the way down, you're using a feathering motion while you're working, okay? So it's the same thing. You just have to make sure that your electric file is in reverse. Since I'm right-handed, I have to make sure that it is in forward, right? It has to be in forward. That way the barrel does not spin around the nail like this. We don't want to go around the world. Okay, so why do you need an electric file? It's the most effective way for you to prepare the natural nail. For those of you guys that are in school or were basically finishing school and your instructors said that you should be using your hand file to prep, let me tell you, that is absolutely the most outdated, whack technique ever, okay? Hand filing for prep is a joke. It's like comparing, like the way we listen to music, right? We download music and we listen to it, you know, on iTunes and Spotify, man. Like I compare prepping with a hand file like buying an 8-track recorder and listening to music that way. She doesn't even exist anymore, right? Old school, lame techniques. The way to prep, again, is now here, look, I understand not everybody has an electric file. So if you can afford one and you need to prep, let me show you how to do it, okay? So, if you had no choice, right, because you couldn't afford to do it, you can't afford to buy one, okay? So this method here of going like this is a joke. You don't prep the nail by doing this in one direction, okay? What you do is you line your hand file at the cuticle area and you gently feather down the side, okay? So you can see how well prepped that is. I'm going to do the other thing. I'm resting my file here. Tickle, 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 coochie, coochie, coo, all the way down. Look at that, right? Covers the perimeter of the nail. Once I'm done filing the perimeter of the nail, then all I have to do, again, I'm working, look at this, all the way down, tickling off all the shine. Right, but you can see how long this is taking me. It's taking me forever to do this, but I have to be thorough, right? So for all of you guys out there, again, that have no choice, This is how you do it, right? You don't do it like this. This right here, this is a joke. This is not how you do it. There's no professional in the world who preps their nails with that lame technique, okay? All right, so what we're gonna end up doing is we're going to take swipe, we're going to pump, and then, right, so for all of you guys that got your manicure brushes inside your kits, you're going to be able to dust away all the shine. It's the same thing if you're working. You could also use wipes if you want to go ahead and clean the surface. Once you're done cleaning the surface, what you're going to do is you're going to take Protein Bond, and what we're going to do with a nice even coat is we're going to do 2 coats, right? So I want to be able to show you guys even how I apply Protein Bond. You see how I'm balancing my hands like this? This is really, really huge. Even when I'm applying my Protein Bond, I use my finger as a fulcrum, a point of balance, right? So that my hands don't shake when I'm working. I find that a lot of beginners, when they're working, right, they're shaking all over the place like this because they don't have stability. So if you dip your brush and you balance your finger like this, it gives you the ability. You're going to be using this technique when you're applying nail polish, when you're applying gel polish, when you're applying everything. And I understand that a lot of you beginners out there, it's really, really hard for you to be able to basically get used to the experience or the feeling, but you have to trust me, right? Everything that I preach and teach has everything to do with getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. No one said that doing nails is super easy, but in order for you to get to that point where it becomes second nature, you have to remember that you have to have strong fundamentals. And the fundamentals that I teach are a means of getting your hands, your joints, your muscles, and your fingers really strong, right? That way you're used to holding bottles in your hand like this, right? Simple things by holding bottles in your hand while you work to be able to have the dexterity, right? So that you don't need to be going back and forth. It's the same thing with holding your brushes, balancing, whether you're doing design work or you're working with a acrylic or a gel brush or even an electric file. It's the same exact thing as being able to position your hands so that when you work, you don't slip. You have good stability. That's really, for me, a lot of the fundamentals that I teach are all based on those factors so that you guys get basically used to it. Okay, let's get into this. So we're going to use cover paint today, and in order for you guys to master short nail application, what you have to master is you have to master the overlay. The overlay is really, really important. What is the overlay? Okay, so we are going to cap basically this long nail with 1 bead. How big should the bead be? Okay, so you can see inside my jar. If I submerge my brush and I tap off the excess, I'm not going to do this. It doesn't matter what brush. You're using a number 8, you're using a number 10, you're using a number 12. Do not take your brush and do this. Don't go like this and like this and like this and like this and like literally you're pulling liquid off of everything, and then I don't want you to drag the brush because what you're going to be left with is a crap pearl on the end of your brush. Super dry, looks like a booger on the end of your brush. We don't want that, okay? That's not going to flow. What you want to be able to do is you need to have a smooth surface so that when you submerge your brush and you tap, right, the amount of product that you're going to pick up is based on your bounce. So you can see how I bounce. I'm going to get a nice fluffy, even pearl that's going to melt off. So what I mean by melt off is when I go ahead and I set it down onto the surface, boom, it comes right off the brush. I don't have to think. Right? I used a very, very light pressure for me to be able to get that off of my brush, okay? So yeah, and I'm going to leave my brush inside my dish, and then we're going to go ahead and reset. I need to flatten this out so that there's nothing here, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that We're going to make sure that when we submerge my brush, I'm going to try to keep everything in view so you can see. But when it comes to a short nail, what I want you guys to be able to do is try to pick up a pearl that's about half the size of the nail bed. So you're going to notice, take my brush, I'm going to tap. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. You notice that I'm basically getting a bead that's about half, a little bit less than half the size of the nail bed. Okay, I'm going to do that again because I held it there too long. Flatten out my powder, submerge my brush. I'm going to get a bead 1, 2, 3, right? I'm going to set this right at the cuticle area with a little bit of space. I'm immediately going to start touching the cuticle area to make sure that it's going to be nice and flush. So as the product runs down, you notice how I'm tapping the surface to try to get the product to flow down towards the free edge. Once it gets down to this point, the area that I want to pull is the front to seal it. You see this? Okay. So once it's sealed, then all I have to do at this point, I don't have enough product here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to use the body of my brush, right? I'm going to use the body of my brush and I'm contouring to the shape as I'm working from side to side. If I don't have enough product at that edge right here, don't try to force it. Lightly start to blend it forward, right? You're going to notice if I start to brush it forward, look at how nice and tight it gets to the edge, right? So that right there is really, really key. So this is important because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a nice overlay. I don't want to build a crazy amount of thickness. If you're looking at it from side to side, and I'm going to show you guys right now, I'm working it from side to side over the top. I'm trying to get this as even as I possibly can, right? The thickness that I have, I'll show you guys right down the barrel of the nail. That's the overlay thickness that I want. It's not too long. It's perfect for that size. That's what you want to be able to do. Okay, so based on this, okay, on this length, when we master overlaying, so the difference between this and this, I'm going to build a sculptured nail, okay? I'm going to use the same principle that I used on the overlay to doing a short sculptured nail. How are we going to do that? Okay, so I'll show you guys. We're going to take our form. We're going to go ahead and place this on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and pre-pinch just like this so that it's nice and short. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to hold it right here at the bottom. And what we want to be able to do is when we place this, I just need to get it underneath, right? You can see it's kind of like at an angle, which is fine. You kind of see if I take the camera and I pull it to the side like this, right? You're going to see the angle that it's at. That's fine. See the bottom of my hand right here? I'm going to use this to lift it up. So I'm holding on to the wings, and what I end up doing is I end up taking my hand and I end up lifting it straight so that my side walls, right, the form is going to be perfectly straight coming out. This is really, really, really good. Okay, so now what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to go ahead and sculpt a really, really thin, small free edge. Let me just go ahead and adjust that. I'm going to get tight. So I'm going to go no longer than that first line right there. How much product do I need? This time I need to remove quite a bit of monomer from my brush, and I'm probably only going to have to bounce a couple of times. Okay, so I'm going to submerge my brush, and then again, I'm just going to bounce a couple of times. I got myself a really small bead. This time I want to be able to dab off the excess because I do not want it to run all over the place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that right here at the front. Okay, and what I'm going to do for me to get this even with the sides, I'm going to walk it from the top. I'm using almost the base of my brush. Notice how I'm pressing it from the very top for me to get it to the side. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm walking it down even with the growth channel. You see that bulge that I have right here? I'm using the base of my brush to walk it all the way up. And then what I can do is I can shorten the length in the front. See this? So this right here, by building your free edge first, what it does is it allows you to gauge how long you want to be able to build this nail. If I'm going with a square, boom, I'm set, okay? Just like that. All right, nothing crazy long. We're talking active length, active length. Look at this, right? So if I'm comparing, I've just built it the length of that. There is no difference, right? So I'm gonna take the principle that I use to overlay this, and I'm going to basically do the same thing on this nail right here. Okay, for those of you guys that want to be able to watch this later, I will save this on live so that you guys can go back and review it. Okay, let's go ahead and do the same exact thing. I'm going to take my bead, half the length, right, half the size of the nail. I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to tap. You see the divots that I have inside here? I need to flatten those out. Okay, so what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to lightly press, bounce, 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 right? Now, notice I didn't drain anything. I need it to be quite wet. That way, when I go ahead and lightly push it to the back end of the cuticle area, it flows really well. And then what I'm doing is I have a consistency where I'm actually able to kind of guide it down over the top. Once I get to this point, I lightly feather from the front. There's enough bulk through this area that I'm going to be able to take the body of my brush and I'm going to be able to manipulate it. So you can see from this angle here, from here, right? Look how I'm using the base of my brush to work the very, very tip. As I start working towards the back, the tip of the brush contours, I don't have enough product right there. I'm going to lightly feather it smooth so that it contours well to that side. This is how you're going to be able to get your sides absolutely perfect. I want to be able to try to build as natural of a shape as I possibly can, okay? That's right there. As you can see, the guide to overlaying something short. I'm trying to create the same length as this, okay? That's the key. I feel that what a lot of beginners end up doing is when they go with something that's this, they end up getting way too much product. So yeah, you've been watching me for a month. It's great. You're like, man, I could finally execute picking up pearls. But what ends up happening is you go for a short nail, right? Like let's say something like this, and you come in, you're like, dude, I got myself a bead as big as this is way too big for this. I need something half the size. Yeah, my signature brushes are out of stock. They'll be back in stock probably end of the first week of May, somewhere around there. Okay. So if this was a bitten nail, right, and we needed to fit this, and we're going to go with something smaller, what I have to do is we have to shape your form. This is why it's really important to understand shaping forms. You guys can review all of that on YouTube. For those of you guys, again, that is exposed to this, I'm going to be doing class every single day, but you can use YouTube as a reference. So what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to end up cutting this right here. Boom, right, flat. Oops. I love how I just flicked it into my powder. That's pretty epic. Let's get that out. All right, so what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take this, and then you're going to see how I'm going to place this right there. Okay, so this part of the form is going to lay on the skin. So anybody who has bitten nails, that's basically the platform that you're going to lay down. So same exact thing. I want to be able to pinch, right? And we're assuming that this whole area in the front is exposed skin. So you're going to notice that once I get this on, right, I can get the form, boom, and that's going to lay down right on that exposed skin. Basically, that's what you need. Like the biggest problem with a lot of nail biters is the skin here ends up bulging up and past. If you lay that down on the front and then the corners are showing, it's not going to be a big deal. But this is how you're going to lay it down to protect it. So if I was going to go with a smaller bead, again, like, what do I need? I need something tiny. So if I get a really, really small bead, and like, let's say our customer wants an oval shape, well, I'm going to work it to the corner, right? I'm going to work it. I'm trying to create not something long. All I'm trying to do is create something that looks normal, right? So you can see how I'm using the acrylic again to build something that's flush to the nail. What I mean by flush is this, like if you look at the side profile here, right? If you look at the side profile here, you notice that the acrylic, right? You notice that my tip, it's not higher than the nail. It's completely smooth, right? It's completely smooth. Oops. And that's the most important thing. We don't want we don't want this tip to be thick. I need it to be exactly the same thickness as the natural nail. It's like building a tip, and that's what you want to be able to do, okay? So once you're done doing that, let me go ahead and zoom out, okay? For those of you guys, again, that have joined me for the very, very first time, I'm not only a good nail instructor, I'm a good cameraman as well. I've been doing this a long time. Okay, so watch this. So once I've built that out, then you can go ahead and you can do your overlay as well. Again, I need to get something about half the size. So I'm going to submerge my brush. I'm going to tap it. I'm going to get 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get myself a nice even bead. I'm going to wait a couple of seconds. You notice I'm going to set that down while it flows. I'm going to tap around the cuticle area while the product starts to run. See, I'm contouring. So right when it gets down to this point and I start to guide it, then I can lightly start to feather from the front. See that? I can feather from the front, even if the body shifts down, no problem. Because at this point, most of the acrylic is actually starting to set. So what I can do, again, I'm going to kind of set this to the side while I'm actually building this out, while I'm finishing this out. But you're going to notice, like even my edges right here, if I start to feather this down, right? And then I could use the body of my brush, boom, and I can start going over the top. So it starts to contour. You notice how the base of the brush contours at the free edge. I'm not pressing flat down. It's contouring, right? I have to be able, because the acrylic is moldable. At this point too, I could start to brush it forward and it kind of brings everything up. But you're going to notice how well I can get most of the product onto the free edge as natural as I possibly can. And you notice I'm using the sides, right, to thicken that out. But that's how we want to be able to create, that's how you're going to be able to basically create a very natural short nail for somebody who doesn't have nails at all, right? And that's what it comes down to. I'm using a 12, my signature series brush. They're not available yet. They've been out of stock since the last flash sale. They'll be back in time. Tried the forms for the first time last night. Struggle. Keep watching my videos. That's what you have to do. If you follow what I teach you guys on a daily basis, right, you're going to be super successful. Okay, so again, if you wanted to take short nails and you wanted to narrow or give the appearance of the nail actually looking slender, what we're going to do is we're going to wait till this sets, right? So the free edge, you can see if I move this, you see how pliable it is? I have to be really, really careful. It's going to get to a point where if I remove the form, I just want to be able to show you guys too early. Boom. Okay, so at this point, like you can see how flimsy this is. It's not set yet. Within 1 more minute, I'm going to be able to take my magic wand and I'm going to be able to pinch right here in the middle of the body. And then what this is going to do, it's going to cast the acrylic. It's going to force the acrylic to go a little bit more narrow. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to take the thickness and you're going to be able to just bend it in slightly, which is going to create a more narrow appearance. That was for the question that I saw a little bit earlier, doing short nails. Someone asked, what if you do short nails on somebody that, again, right, her nails are wide, you have to pinch. That's what it comes down to. This is what you want to be able to do. We're going to go ahead and, let me go ahead and wrap this up, and then we're going to go ahead and file into shape while they are all drying. All right, so keys to finishing, right? It's the same. If I'm doing an overlay, I'm always looking at the nail from right, if this is the nail, that we're working on, and that was just the overlay that we built out, there is a guide for you to file it, and it is basically called the I formation, okay? So the I formation is really based on the letter I. So if you lay down an I on the nail, this says it all. If you file your upper arch, which is basically the middle of the serif right here all the way through, okay, that's going to give you your side profile, which is your arch. If you file the top part of the eye, and you know how to do that really, really well, you're going to blend the cuticle area really, really well. If you blend the base of the eye by looking down the barrel of the nail, you're going to be able to tune in your free edge so that you have even thickness from side to side. What you are left with is the remaining area, which you don't need to worry. All you got to do is blend that in. This is what I've been teaching for over 20 years. This is what's going to basically get you in tune. I had a really, really good instructor. Her name was Kathy Rashmont. She was the one who helped me develop my own style to this technique. Okay, so what we want to be able to do, again, even if I am filing, I need to make sure my sides are straight, my free edge is straight, even if it's an overlay. My underside, I always turn to the side so I can see that I have my lower arches completely straight. I'm going to go ahead and switch out my barrel, and then I'm going to go ahead and put on, right, my safety bits. We're going to go ahead and run the barrel at 10,000 RPMs. I'm in forward, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the side profile, okay? So really, really important if you're looking at the side profile. So I don't really have that much to file. I need to basically tune the sides, right? You can see the thickness that I have all the way through, okay? I'm going to go around my cuticle area in one direction to blend that in. I'm going to go down the bottom. I'm going to make sure that my C curve is nice and even, one direction all the way through. As soon as I'm done filing the eye, all I'm going to do is come in one direction. I do not go side to side. This method does that. You don't want that, okay? That is literally going to throw you guys off if you try to go side to side. Again, sucker technique. If you want to file your edges straight, you keep your hand files dead straight on both sides, all right? Notice how straight I'm going to have it right here. I'm going to turn the hand to the side so that I have access to my lower arch. At the lowest point, I want to be able to file up and even with my sides so that my lower arches are perfect. On the opposite side, it's the same exact thing. If I line it at the lowest point parallel to the finger, you can see where it starts. I don't line it in the corner and try to file up. I start the file at the lowest point, and as I file up and parallel to the nail, you're going to notice eventually the file will reach the corner, right? File up and in so that I have it dead straight coming out that side. That's what you want to be able. You're scared to go around the cuticle area. You have nothing to be scared about because you are working with this, a bald bit. So again, I'm going to fire up my electric file. I'm looking at the side profile. I'm starting here, one direction, right? All the way through, one direction. I don't really have that much to tune up. If I'm going around the cuticle area, I'm going in I'm not going side to side. I'm pulling towards myself. I'm pulling towards myself. If I'm going down the barrel of the nail, I'm pulling towards myself. Pulling towards myself so that I'm going to be able to create a nice even structure from side to side. Once I'm done shaping or taking down the excess of the eye, I follow through all the way in one direction. Notice how I start from zone 1 of the barrel, down the center of the barrel, which is zone 2, down the base of the barrel, which is zone 3. Zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. The same thing here, right? So for those of you guys, I haven't done anything to the sides yet. Let's say you're like, you know what? I want to file my upper arch and all that first. I take down the sides. I file down my side to make sure that it's nice and even. I go around my cuticle area. All you're doing is taking down bulk, okay? Taking down bulk. I'm looking down the barrel of the nail. I'm going to file in one direction to make sure that my C curve is going to be easy. Once I'm done shaping my eye, I'm going to blend all the way through again in one direction. I'm done shaping, not shaping, I'm done reducing thickness, okay? Once you are done reducing thickness, right, you can then say, okay, I'm going to adjust, right? I'm going to make this a really, really pretty almond nail. So I can come from the side and I can just kind of adjust it. Now you're going to notice that my lower arch, right, it's not going to be rocking straight. It almost looks like it's pointed up, and that's fine. That's the appearance you're going to get. Unless you tilt your form sideways. But honestly, that's absolutely fine if your oval nail ends up becoming like that. So take a look at this cuticle area. I want to show you something. You see that ledge right there? You cannot leave that. That is a no-no. So what we have to do is we have to blend it. I'm going to take my hand file and I'm just literally going to lightly kind of pick around that corner. Lightly pick around that corner, and then I just line my file and blend it through, and then that line ends up disappearing completely. That's what we want to be able to do. And I do that with all my nails. I'm going to make sure that I go all the way around the edges just to make sure that I don't have ledges around the cuticle areas. Once I'm done filing around that area, I always split the nail in two. So again, I have my hand file in this position, I hold it here, right? And I work down the side and then contact. So for those of you guys who have struggles with hand filing, contact up, let the file fall. Contact, contact. If you guys are comfortable, which I'm not comfortable going this way and up. I'm more comfortable hitting up and then letting the file flow down, right? And then you're going to notice how easy it is once you file all that. You can see the scratch marks, right? You can see how the scratch marks basically are coming down and down so that you're able to blend everything. You also have to remember that once you're done shaping, right? So this is where it's really important to be able to get it nice and even. You have to look down the client profile. So always here, right? If I'm looking down my client profile, I'm going to be able to look down the barrel of the nail this way, and you're going to be able to see whether the nail is thick. So once you're done shaping this way, final shaping is to look down the barrel of the nail. This is how you're going to get your edges. Like if I need to straighten out this, right, to make sure this is rocking like razor sharp square, that's what I want to be able to do. What I'll usually do is I'll line my file on the back end, and I'll just make sure that I have it dead even on both sides, right? So that way it's completely straight. And then I'll lay my file on top this way and just kind of glide from side to side. I make a peace sign. I rest it in between my knuckles. I rest it on top. And then you're going to notice how I could just keep the file rested on the surface as I go back and forth over the top. And what that's going to do, it's going to ensure that I'm going to be able to build a really, really nice structure. But that's how you're going to be able to create short nails. This was obviously a bitten nail, this was an overlay, and this was something sculpted that I want to be able to keep across. Perfect, okay? Oops. I hope that answered a lot of your questions when it comes to short nails. I think the biggest struggle with short nails is, again, using way too much product. It's basically trial and error, and that's what you're going to be able to do. You have to have, I would rather have you guys work with a medium to wet consistency and get the bead to flow off. If the bead gets to the end and there's too much and it comes off, dude, just brush it off. It'll leave a really, really nice shallow amount. For those of you guys who are like, those look too thin, you have to remember that I'm not even quite done. Most of my customers wear color. So whether I'm going to be putting a gel polish, that's usually 2 more coats of color with a top coat on the surface, right? That adds bulk to it. If you build your nails too bulky, dude, your gel polish is going to look way too buff. You don't want a big old jacked looking nail. No, you want something that is going to look absolutely natural, and then what you can do is you can hit it up with color to make it look just absolutely just amazing. Glitter fades, topical type of like pigment application, art, man, mission control, man. If you guys are totally into doing art, you're gonna be able to fully decorate those nails and have it. Do I have customers? I don't have customers. I teach professionals how to do nails for a living. All right. I hope this helps. You guys have a wonderful day. Practice, practice. We're all gonna be nail ninjas, man. I'm telling you. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Have a wonderful day. Peace.